Morning, everyone. It has been a great first quarter of 2025 for Harmony. Really want to tell you about our progress, but also what is the rest of the roadmap this year and going forward. We started the year with great result and launches, both on AI and DeFi and our network platform. We understand that AI would drive many of the sentiment as well as automation, media interactions, not just this year, but for many of the industry, as well as many of the products coming from now, understand how to do DeFi, how to do use strategy, how to use products, how even kids learns about general math knowledge going forward. We've done many of the agentic framework. We have launched many of the product and research, understanding what we can do in the area. On the other hand, the market has been very volatile. For us to understand what will be the long-term wealth management, portfolio management, asset management, treasury management that we need to do. There's no doubt that Bitcoin strategic reserve will be critical for corporations, for countries, especially for crypto projects. We have been studying not just for the perpetual of many of the tokens and many of the DeFi products out there, but in particular for Bitcoin and many of the major way of understanding what management any of the money manager need to do. In particular, for myself, we've been driving with the team to do many of the research over the holiday during the Christmas and the New Year to get into the product launch mode earlier in this quarter. And we have done Pump.ONE, we have done many of the media campaigns, we have done many of the integrations to be possible, setting the integration and the product that we do this year. In particular, we have come back strong on the DeFi management for the cross-chain roadmap this year. We understand that there are many yield opportunities both in Bitcoin and many of the new ecosystem. We have been studying, in particular, the Sonic ecosystem launch from back in the day of the Phantom, that we have been a great relationship with, understanding many of the OG in DeFi doing the yield optimization, doing of the treasury management back in 2020. Even back in the 2018, we have been a great partners with many of the network founders, including the Phantom back in the time, understanding what they have gone through of a new network, what they have gone through doing treasury management. That now is actually a great time seeing another great network and the founder Andre coming back to launch a new product. I've been obsessed understanding the products that not only as a network come back to launch many of the DeFi, but as a founder navigating the regulations and compliance framework to know that they have been a strong player managing the treasury, building the DeFi, understanding the network primitives, and having the campaigns now with the airdrop, with the new integrations to be what is still DeFi the next summer and the next campaigns going. We understand that this market is especially hard for the token and the launches, but the building is always going. We have been studying not just the research, but the products in many of the ecosystem to understand that what will be ultimately the users want. The users want yields, they want security guarantee, they need to understand what is impermanent loss, they need to really help manage the portfolio, and we are thinking very long term. We understand that each portfolio must have reserve of not just the dollars, but the Bitcoin and many of the major assets that you wish to hold for years. We understand that there will be certain pools that manage the volatility and the risk much like a perpetual and the options that we studied last year, that final is ready. Whether in Jupiter, whether in Hyperliquid, whether back in the GMX, we have studied many of the pool with mixed liquidity of many of the tokens that have managed the volatility very well. There are lots of research studies that we have asked the team to really hash it out for us, so that not just on Harmony, but anyone holding of this cross-chain asset would need to manage. But I've been thinking about very long term. We understand that both wallet and bridge and the UX has to be great. In terms of security, in terms of usage, there's always new and upcoming standard and improvement, and even via gateway, that's much more possible now than a few years ago when we launched the Crossfi for cross-chain asset management. That now not only you can use passkey to easily onboard without worrying about passphrase or seed phrases. Not only that you can have a wallet on mobile, but any way that you manage a backup, of a way to share multi-sig. But most of all, both the bridge and the source of the security, we can go back to more fundamental research to understand what can we manage over a long term. In particular, if we force ourselves to think about wealth management, rather than just participating in one class of asset that you invest, hold, trade, and be part of, then we understand that we not only allow multiple selections of asset in different networks, in different product categories, but helping them manage the risk, manage the security, helping them understand where the yield's coming from, what are the possible impermanent loss, toxic flow from arbitrage. These are the things that you have to worry about when the market is up or down, that not only you celebrate when everything's going up and pumping, but also going down and how to hedge it, but also think about your next generation, of how the wealth would accumulate over the years and decades. Create wealth in harmony is something that I always believe, and it's something that is very hard and difficult when the security is something that everyone overlook and care about, that they don't know much about. We do know that that's something that we can do and can do better. So coming back here, the AI agents will always manage the last part for us once all the automation, all the knowledge, all the primitives are built out. We understand that everyone will be on social media, on X and Twitter, and on YouTube watching something to entertain themselves, to learn something new, to be part of the community. But AI agents and social media is only at the top, that when we fully understand what the product, where the yields are, and when the market is volatile, how to hedge it. So we've been actually using and testing more product because we know they are far more primitives and well done. In particular, there's still new exchanges, decentralized exchange in particular, coming out that innovate beyond what is people thinking it's just another clone, another forks. We do know that Uniswap V2, V3, and now V4 is the foundation, but there are much more innovations to come. Even the way that Pendle handle the points and the principles and trading some of these interest derivatives is something that we understand what users want to have but don't want to learn. So in coming months, we'll be not just studying, but understand how to bring it together, not only in an easy package, but something that I will use it myself. You would love to have it, and to get to the bottom of, if DeFi is a foundation, what can we build now, starting today? And I'm very glad the team not only bring it together and learn what are the new things, but be able to really, really use it. And from the network and platform side, we have been always very serious about providing the long-term upgrades and building, including the new EVM upgrades, including new finality, including new syncing, including new database state pruning, that we know these are the fundamentals that you're looking for. We will also keep driving the Twitter and the Reddit engagement. We have been really sending much more media now, but also engaging community in different social media platforms that will love to hear from you. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. And I wanted to take this opportunity to share some of the things that we have been working on in the first quarter of the year, and also think about some of the projects that we can work on going forward. So as a team, we have been spending a lot of time using many of the new decentralized finance and on-chain products and learning what really is currently the state of art in terms of products and user experience and possible strategies that are available in all of DeFi. A couple of things I'll mention specifically. I think right now when we look at many of the products, I think it's fair to say for a new user, it would be not very easy to navigate and understand the possible options and strategies using just some of the existing user interfaces. So we are going much deeper and looking at other on-chain data and the analytics and tools that are able to give us accurate and realistic information about many of the products that we ourselves want to have in order to make decisions about which products they engage with and how to optimize strategies for things like earning yield. And in addition to the analytics, we've been trying out not just individual products, but also looking at and working with many of the tools that are aggregators or portfolio managers to think about what are the specific features that we ourselves would want to use and perhaps are missing from the current ecosystem that we want to develop and use ourselves, and also be able to provide that to the broader ecosystem so that we can make it easier to bring on more users for using these products. So in particular, we have looked at a full range of the products that cover things like stablecoin lending, yield on stable assets, also Bitcoin, and also many of the new products and projects that are able to generate revenues or fees that then they give to the token holders. So that model allows these products to be much more sustainable and can help grow the ecosystem as well. Additionally, a couple of things that I want to mention is we are also looking at products like derivatives that may allow you to isolate yields so that users can earn a very stable yield, a relatively stable yield, without having to think too much about different underlying assets that they're holding. So these are some of the, I would say, innovations or products that have come out in the recent times. And we're also looking into what are the tools, as I mentioned before, for things like auto-rebalancing or orderly rebalancing that in some ways do not exist in a way that we ourselves find it easy to use. So I think there are many opportunities still remaining to bring much more clarity to the entire DeFi space and to reduce some of the frictions that we've experienced, both for onboarding and to continue to maintain your positions in liquidity pools and other products, that you can really engage with these products in a way that feels durable, sustainable, and protects your assets. Also, our team spent a good amount of time engaging the community, and both a lot of our old friends and some of the new builders at the ETH San Francisco Week events and the Stanford Blockchain AI conference that happened just this month. So it was a lot of fun to meet some of the builders in the space, of course, and many of the old friends, and connecting with them to talk about and learn from them what are the latest innovation. So in summary, I would say that we're still very early for the entire industry. And it's very encouraging to see many of the new products that are available, but also at the same time, understand the opportunity to really optimize a lot of the existing products in the ecosystem. And as I mentioned, to reduce the friction, bring more clarity, both on understanding the analytics and the data behind some of these products, as well as developing a user experience that will allow many more users to understand and engage and use these products in a way that is clear, simple, and safe for them. So again, we look forward to sharing more about everything that we're learning and developing, and looking forward to growing the ecosystem with you together. Thank you.
All right, so for Q1 2025, and quick overview for what we said in the beginning of Harmony 2025 as a whole for the rest of the year, but just covering what we said earlier between simple DeFi and AI integrations, and covering where we are today, where we'll be in the next few quarters. So starting off with AI integrations, we had mentioned the ELYZA OS and getting Harmony Protocol integrated within their repo, and those integrations are complete. So now if you have a character, you have something with OS, you can just go and plug that in and it can communicate on protocol. So transactions, everything that you want to do, you can now use your AI characters from ELYZA OS on Harmony. On the simple DeFi side, we have Yield Boost that is code complete, just going through some testing, and that's going to build yield. And again, so for those that might not know, what Yield Boost is a combination of the Harmony treasury that's actually going outside of Harmony to earn yield and earn an income on top of that, and then funneling that through Yield Boost for the Harmony community. So now the Harmony community can stay inside this environment and benefit from all these other chains or whatever that are earning yields. And again, with a simple click, they can start earning 15, 20% on their stable coins, because it leverages MakerDAO, which is now Sky Protocol. So then you would have the S DAI and then the one S DAI, and then you can get the boost DAI eventually, which is going to have, again, the Harmony treasury working for the Harmony community in this nice, simple DeFi. So that's a bit more on that background. In terms of Q1, there's also been several DAO initiatives that we want to highlight. So in the past, we've done these large breadth or very frequent like DAOs, and we want to make sure we have an X number of DAOs rather than necessarily focusing on the impact DAOs. So what we've done is refactored that a little bit and said, okay, what are the 2 or 3 most impactful that we can have alongside things like the validator DAO or DAOs that are already in the community? So in terms of recent governance updates, we have the HFP 28 and then HFP 30. But again, massive updates that now allow for transactions to be accumulated and then given back towards the community in terms of sustainable growth. So what does that look like in these 3 DAOs? We have the community side of the transaction DAO and then the infrastructure side of the transaction DAO. So infrastructure is pretty straightforward. Maintenance, protocol, these spending is going to be handled by that DAO. And then on the other side, we have the community DAO. So this quarter, we actually saw the first allocation of the community transaction DAO. They allocated and decided to go towards Athletify, which is pioneering athlete finance, which is who knows, like a new venture in this area, but founding team is part of Recovery One and longtime members and builders in the Harmony community. And this also marks that first allocation from this DAO, which again, based on the governance proposal and everything that was passed, the community really has free reins on how they want to allocate these funds. So whether that's for this purpose, so project or personal funds, if there's individual members that might merit something, even back to validators or burning or recovery. Again, we really wanted this now to be this accumulating fund that can then go back into the community. So the other side of that is the emission DAO, which again, in terms of scale, emission DAO is probably the largest DAO in terms of capital and capital allocation, because it's directly tied to the protocol emissions. So again, 75% of the emissions continue to go towards the validators, 25% of the emissions continue to go towards recovery. And this emission DAO, with what we're hoping for is in kind of the culmination of recovery, this DAO kind of transitions into the same way that we have the community DAO, in a way that these emissions, right, again, 25% of the protocol yearly emissions would go towards funding projects, communities, and potentially even burning, which would mean at its peak or max would be 25% of the entire yearly protocol emissions that could be burned, which would be massive. But again, these fewer DAOs are meant to be this whole narrative of sustainable building, sustainable growth, where you don't need to depend on, let's say, an internal team or internal decisions. It's out there for the community, governed by the community, and then through votes. If you're an individual, you would vote through your validator. Validators then vote, and these are how the decisions are made. On the DeFi side, for Q1, we decided to do a much deeper dive into the current ecosystem of things, see where chains were at. We saw Sonic had a successful launch and heavily bootstrapped and has a lot of incentives, but looking a bit more underneath and say, okay, DeFi, we still see as the main value proposition for crypto. So if that's the case, then why isn't the adoption there? There's a gap in where people are building. Most tend to apply towards the new features, the rebalancing, auto-rebalancing, loss value rebalancing as well, and optimizing these liquidity pools, concentrated liquidity. And very quickly, it gets a bit more complex. And you're like, okay, how do I get access to these strategies without all of a sudden signing a transaction that I didn't know about? So that's where this narrative of simple DeFi comes in, where is there a way that we can give people the most optimal strategies? Let's say stable coins, and they're more reserved, but they want to be earning 10 to 20% consistently a year on stable coins. Can we package that in a simple user experience? And then on the other hand, of those that might want to chase maybe the 100 plus, we know in DeFi things can get pretty crazy quickly, but can we offer that 100% as well in a way that keeps rebalancing and again uses these complex strategies, but in a way that is, say, one click, which eventually gets into our AI narrative, where we don't want necessarily the users to have to keep coming back and check, oh, were my pools allocated correctly? Did my rebalancing actually go through? There's heavy volatility that's coming. Can the AI predict that? That way that your pools are prepared, and if there's anything that you might need to change, you can. But ideally, we would have the AI that's able to just, again, go through that process and have those complex solutions for users. So in terms of exactly what that looks like in these quarters, all right, for, again, the year of 2025, the year of simple DeFi, the year of DeFi getting to this next step of, yes, the value proposition is there, but it's inaccessible. Why is it inaccessible? It's extremely difficult. People, oh, DeFi, I can't do DeFi. But again, if you abstract it and you have it just be a single click and you can earn 15% a year on stablecoins, then, okay, now we start to bridge a bit more into people who might not be familiar or even comfortable. So in terms of that accessibility, yes, it's inaccessible and it is still a large value proposition. But in terms of getting to that second step of, okay, how do we make this simple? How do we make it anybody can participate, anybody can use this? Because this is DeFi at its core is a distribution of wealth creation, right? In a sense, like you can distribute wealth creation in a decentralized way. It's not tied to banks. It's not tied to centralized entities, right? I can participate. Somebody else can participate. We don't even have to know each other or whatever, and we can provide liquidity for others and then earn fees and earn yields and all of this stuff. Like the beauty of crypto is still there underneath, but we're just packaging it in a different way. So how do we prepare for that at Harmony? Where do we carve our own niche? What we've worked through is saying, okay, there are pain points in onboarding. So that's bridging from decentralized exchanges, the decentralized means going from one chain to a different chain and coming to Harmony when people are already in crypto. It takes like 20 minutes and it's not a great experience. So there's not a real point in having simple DeFi that's hidden by complex onboarding processes. So we're tackling those as well. The second side is the centralized exchanges. So it's on and off ramping from centralized entities into Harmony. So the main pain point that we've discussed through the years is the 0x, so addresses with a different prioritization. Because again, Harmony is in a unique position of being a layer one, but a layer one that is so technically good on the protocol side that it feels like a layer two, where you're paying, I don't know, 0.00003, whatever, in fees. So again, comparable to Solana, but everything's EVM compatible. But it's still a layer one. So again, with staking and everything and sharding and all the things that you have from layer ones, it's a bit difficult for people to go from the 1 address, which is ONE1, and then the rest of your address, to then the 0x, because exchanges support one and then wallets support another. So you're constantly flipping back and forth, and then at times people might send one address to the wrong one. So that's a main pain point in terms of onboarding through centralized exchanges. So that's another one we're covering. So now as we're cutting down these pain points to get into Harmony, we want to make sure that the product offering within Harmony continues improving. What we've had is the swap, the lend, going down the list of these primitives, which now includes Pump.ONE, which is a token creation platform, which definitely see the side that some people have been saying of, oh, the meme coin cycle is done. It's through, why build a token launchpad or launcher right now, which are valid points. But again, in terms of the primitives that need to be there to a certain extent, where later on down the line, if anybody wants to create, let's say, if it's a user or if it's your ELIZA OS integration, so you have this AI bot that's an agent that wants to build certain things, or you have your Telegram community that is growing and you want to have a token associated or things like that, and you want to do it in a cheap way, there is a way now to do it that is incredibly easy and accessible within the Harmony. So native token launches are now easy, which is, yes, in terms of the greater narrative, might not have that same application of, oh, this is the main trend, but it's still something that now, if anybody has a need or a use for it, it is there. And again, on the product side of where we're headed with this simple DeFi narrative, what we've done for Q1 is really go down the list of what is the industry doing? Where are they innovating? What are the abstractions that they're doing? So we're looking into the chain signatures for multi-chain experience, looking into session keys so you don't have to sign transactions all the time, and then potentially looking into hex code translators. So whenever you are signing, you know what you're actually signing, not a bunch of zeros and random numbers that you just hope that your wallet doesn't drain afterwards. These things, again, we're making it so the DeFi experience is one that is not only easy and accessible, but enjoyable as well. And combining that with industry leading yields. So you don't necessarily have to go to other places to, say, go and do more complex things. We want to take those complex aspects and pull away from. So again, for Q1 and where we are today in that journey is much more on the research side. And as that's concluding, we want to go towards the building side and eventually delivering, where you'll have the industry leading yields, the APIs that allow you to find those yields. And then what we want to do is package that for users, where truly Harmony becomes that hub and that place for a simple DeFi, where chains will continue to compete. You'll have latency, fees, usually it's incentives. So most of the trends that we're seeing where more users appear, you have added incentives on top of it, but eventually those incentives run out and the sustainability is no longer there. And your DeFi project doesn't actually create wealth. It's just this funnel in of incentives. People go and feed off of it, and then they go on to the next one. So what do you create in order to make sure that people continue and have a use case for it. So what we want to do is take the current value creation that DeFi offers in these stable pools, in these volatile pools, this concentrated liquidity where people can be earning, let's say 20 to 100% annual yields consistently in a safe manner. Can we do it where it's manageable rather than having to know all this background of DeFi? So that's where we're currently at. It's a bit quickly through initiatives, but on the bridge side, bridge upgrades are coming soon. We're in talks with Socket Bridge for, again, significantly decreasing the wait times for getting in and out of Harmony and making sure that those bridges that actually get people into the ecosystem are much better and much more streamlined. And then continuing again with analyzing what competitors are doing and carving out this niche that's a bit different, that focuses a lot more on the user experience and making sure that these yields are both safe, manageable, but first and foremost, accessible. Shaping Harmony as this kind of friendly, easy, accessible DeFi with not much overhead, not necessarily complex charts, but still offering those complex charts if there's certain users that might prefer those, like AI tooling as well if they want it. But again, really focusing on that positioning of Harmony as this place for simple, friendly DeFi.